Hi, everybody. Welcome back to HR Are You Listening? This is your host, Marta Fernandez. And today we have an amazing episode, guys. This is a guy who has a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, not only in his profession, but overall in his work life. A lot of things that I am looking forward to get to know from him, from these stories that he's going to be sharing. With no further ado, let me introduce you to my good friend, Felipe Cofino. Hi, Felipe.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marta. How are you? ¿Cómo estás? Great to see you. Sorry. Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be here and talk to you today. It's nice to see you face to face too. We spent so much time on audio that it's nice to see us in face to face.
Yeah. Thank you. Yo estoy bien. ¿Y tú, cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias. Muy
Oh,
bien.
you see, guys, Spanish is kicking there. Spanish classes from high school. Where do you learn Spanish? Let me start there.
Well, my parents are actually Cuban. My grandparents were from Spain, and during the Spanish Civil War, they moved to Cuba. My parents were born. They went back to Spain. They realized they could make more money in Cuba. They went back to Cuba, and then my parents met, had my oldest siblings, my three oldest siblings. Then Fidel came, and they moved to the U.S., and that's where my brother and I were born. So I grew up speaking Spanish to my grandparents all my life. I didn't know my father spoke English until I was 5 years old. We had taken a trip to England, and we were in the airport, and all of a sudden my father's talking to the ticket counter person, and I looked over to my mom and my brothers and sisters like, when did Papi learn English? And they thought that was hysterical. So I've been bilingual all my life, and I try to do that with my kids. My daughter's pretty good. My son, I failed. I need to do better.
You know what? It's completely fine. I think I am also bilingual, but my parents are from Nicaragua. And I learned English because of all my education. Uh, but for me, it was backwards. I thought my dad knew English when I was growing up because my mom is a teacher, and then my mom speaks English. I'm like, I immediately assume that my dad speaks English. And I think one of the first times that we came to United States, my dad, I was like, why are you speaking so weird? Why is the English accent, or the very strong accent when they don't practice? And then I learned that he learned English way older, which kind of makes sense because when you're older, it's harder for you to learn the pronunciations unless you start speaking it fluently. Anyways, sorry guys, sidetrack there.
Good thing, because I will say that my father, who had a PhD, brilliant as hell, he would mix up certain things that we say in English. For example, a simple hot dog. He would call it a dog hot, because in Spanish you say perro caliente, you say dog hot, and so just in order of how they said it, he would translate it literally. Like, you want a dog hot? I'm like, Bobby, it's a hot dog. But again, sometimes it's very easy to confuse when you're bilingual, but it is a benefit to us.
Yeah, for sure. Before we continue this conversation, please introduce yourself formally to the audience. Who is Felipe? And yeah, take it away.
Well, for those of you I've not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Felipe Cofino. I'm a 30-year HR executive that's been passionate about HR, recruiting, training, performance management, goal setting. I'm also a LinkedIn top voice that I was for the past year and a half. And I am I've been a co-author of 2 books, but I recently wrote a children's book, which doesn't really go with the HR side of my life, but it's been a dream of mine that I had when my daughter was very young. I never thought I was an author, but I learned some skills over the years, and I ended up publishing the first book, and now I'm working on the second book. But LinkedIn is also the place where I've been able to feel like I can really do my mission of helping others the way people have helped me throughout my career, giving back knowledge, educating people. My mother was a teacher. So being a forever learner, but sharing that knowledge with others, LinkedIn's been that great platform. And that's where you and I met, Martha, doing audio rooms and sharing those questions and situations that people don't know how to deal with in the workplace. So I created the Workplace Wellness Hour with Samana Jetty and Ashley Llewellyn that we do every other Monday on LinkedIn and YouTube. And then I did one with Melissa Houston called Careers, Chaos, and Coaching, that for people that really are just looking for advice on how to move up in their career or how to find a new job, or just they need a little coaching on what they're trying to achieve. Um, and then for networking purposes, we have our weekly Social Saturday chat that we do on LinkedIn and YouTube. And that is a chance for people just all over the world just to learn how to network, get to know each other, meet connections, find opportunities for maybe work or clients. Um, and outside of that, I'm a father of two grown children, my daughter who's about to get married this October, my son who just graduated and moved out recently. So we're kind of empty nesters. And then we have our foster son who's up in New York who just graduated as well. So family man. I always say that my house is the Latino version of the show Full House, because in addition to my children and our dogs, we also have my mother who lives here. My brother and sister are currently living here temporarily. So we are always got some Latinos in this house rotating around. So it is a full house of comedy. If they filmed it, my family wouldn't find it funny, but I'm sure other people would.
Wow. Wow, that's an amazing presentation. Let me just like first foremost, that's funny that you have your mom, your sisters. That must be a blast growing up in that environment. And even at this age, getting older, like it kind of reminisces you when you were a child, your childhood. And I'm pretty sure.
Sometimes too much. Sometimes, when your mother at 93 treats you like a 5 year old when you're in your 50s, you're kind of like, Mommy, I know what I'm doing. I've been taking out the trash for 50 years. I know how to, you don't need to remind me.
Wow. And I'm gonna say that's a blessing though, because the fact that you're able to take care of your mother, and have her this period of time, I am just gonna say that's a blessing. I feel as though I'm an immigrant, so I live here in the United States. I don't have my family here. Well, hold on. I don't have my immediate family because I do have a lot of cousins and aunts and around here, but just having your loved ones next to you, especially moments of stress, or just moments that maybe you feel lonely, just having a hug from your loved one plays a big factor. And so I just want to say that's you're very lucky, and I'm sure that your kids, your three kids, where they're no longer kids because they're grown adults, are they admire you because not only because of the what you have done in your life, your career, but also what type of father you are. It says a lot having a father who showcase those values of family. So congrats on
Well, I learned from my father, thank you, and hopefully, and they have a wonderful relationship with their grandmother, and that is a great blessing because not everyone gets a relationship with their
that. Yeah,
grandparents.
for sure. And then before we start the actual stories and stuff like that, I want to go back because you said book and author, and the last one it's a kids one. So I want you to take this time. Yes, there you go.
It's called Backyard Adventures, Miranda and Max. This was a story that my daughter, when she was like 5 years old or 4 years old, she went out to let the dog in, and she's like, "I'm going to play with the dog in the backyard." I'm like, "That's fine." And after like a few minutes, I went back and checked on them. She comes running up with the dog. She's like, "Poppy, we got lost in the backyard. We saw all these animals. I got scared. They helped us find our way, and Max protected me." And I'm like, you've been out here for like 3 minutes. I'm like, that's myself. I said that, but I thought that would be a great story one day. I'm not a writer. I can't write stories, but over time, I started making little notes. I'd make little drawings of the animals. I like to sketch and draw. I can't draw people, so I did use some AI to help me with the images of my daughter and the dog because I wanted to make them look real. And it's just been an amazing journey to be able to share a story that I thought maybe somebody else could write one day. And it became a love letter to my daughter. But now I have my son. I'm like, oh, I got to do one for my son now. So I'm doing one called Brady and Lucky, the one-eyed cat, which is the cat that we rescued. There's a story behind that where he got stuck in a tree. Let me just say, he called the fire department to see if they could rescue the cat. That's part of the story. So it's a great way to do that. But one of the blessings of this that is solely outside of the HR and business world, but entrepreneurship, writing your own book opens up a whole new world. But also, these are stories that I would tell my grandkids, that I would tell my great grandkids if I was around. My children might not have thought to tell these stories, so now that they're on paper, these stories can live on even after I'm gone.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you converted into something that is more than memory. The memories of kids and their journeys when they're growing up, especially in their, toddler ages and smaller kids, their experiences, how they live the real world is so different than ours, because their imagination, how they uh, do they see something that is super challenging, and their fearfulness, like they go and tackle those challenges, right, in their imagination, right, like um I I think kids teach us so much if it's just us adults taking time to understand what they're trying to say, and what is their learning lessons, their lessons that they're trying to give us. Kids are so wise and have so much that they could offer us, and actually remind us, ground us of certain things that we tend to forget because we're so busy in our daily base and our work, and go 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 go, where they appreciate that flower, they appreciate the simpleness of life and how that brings so much joy.
Behind it was go out and use your imagination, put down your devices and go out in the backyard and have some imagination, have some fun with imagination. And I always try to put myself, whatever I'm doing, whether it's coaching for careers or children's book, I try to remember what it was like to be in that role. And one of the things that I always said, I'm a big comic book nerd. I grew up reading comic books. I always wanted to see the comics come to life on the movie screen. A Marvel universe is out there. I'm ecstatic. Wrote this book, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a cartoon of this one day? And I said, you know what? I use AI. I animated every image in this book, and then I put a song to it. It's now on YouTube. When you buy the book, you scan the QR code. It takes you to a short cartoon for you to watch, and there's music and a song to it, and it animates all the images so you actually see the characters come to life.
That is so
And
cool.
those are small things I think that when you're marketing or promoting something that you have, whether it's for your own company or for the company you work for, you got to put yourself in the shoes of the person and think about what are they going through, what do they want, and that's where I think the magic can happen.
Mm, yeah, so with that in mind, um what are some stories that you could, or what is a story that you could tell us, that actually I want to align it to this, to what brought you here, what are something that you have experienced in your work life that brought you to this person that you are right now, this leader that you are. I will consider you as a leader because you not only lead people, but you also, you're ready to help other people, not only by saying things but also acting, right, like you're acting upon it. You just said it right now. Put myself in the other shoes of the other person, what they're expecting, remind myself, who I was back then. So I will let you take it away, and yeah, go ahead.
One of the first stories that come to mind, it's comes along the lines of fears of making mistakes. I was working in the hotel industry and I was in charge of recruiting for 10 hotels. And back then we did a lot of advertising in the newspaper because there wasn't as much social media to advertise like there is today. And I put on this great advertisement. It was actually going to be in the radio station as well. So 12 radio stations during rush hour. I'm thinking people are stuck in their car. They hate traffic. They're hating their commute. Great time to hear about other jobs. So we set this up, got all the hotels to invest money in it. Great project. The first radio commercial, I'm in the car, I'm listening to it, and they say, oh, come work for this hotel company. They offer great benefits, 12 weeks vacation. I'm like, we don't offer 12 weeks vacation. It was supposed to be 12 free hotel rooms a year. Now, that ran for an entire week on hundreds of radio stations. The sad thing is that no one applied from that, which was, you think somebody would have, but it taught me that I got to pay attention to my own details, but I also got to inspect what I expect. And learning that lesson went into another mistake that I made where I was trying to rush and I sent a file to somebody, to an auditor, that was the wrong file. Um, when I went to my VP, I'm like, if you need to fire me, I understand. He was like, what did you learn from the mistake? And I told him, he goes, that's more important than the mistake you made, that you won't make it again and you learn from it. And when those lessons there take away the fear of trying something new. And that's one of the lessons I learned is failure helps you learn. There's a great commercial out there right now. I don't even know what it's for, but it's a little girl that's in the water and she's on her like boogie board or something, and she's talking about, oh, I failed, I fell off the boogie board. Oh, I failed, I fell off the wave. I failed, I fell off the wave again. And then she's like, and tomorrow I can't wait to come back and fail some more. And it was because her mindset was she's getting better each time. She's learning from every experience. So when I started writing, I wrote 2 chapters in these more professional books, just a chapter, because I'm not a writer. That kind of got me over my fear a little bit. And so putting yourself out there, taking that small risk, and maybe some minuscule risk. You don't have to do big risk. You can take calculated risk. But I never would have even tried doing something like this if I hadn't learned that there might be some benefits from failing. And I think that's a huge lesson there, because I think so many people are afraid of failing.
Can I just stop because I something that I'm thinking about your story that I want to bring to light. It's having that VP that said to you, "Hey, I'm not gonna fire you. What is the lesson that you learned?" I I want to say that that's very important. I feel like a lot of times um, there's people in the higher management level that they don't like mistakes. They're like, I got you here, Felipe, and you're supposed to know better. And there's no second chances, so you're done. And I feel like I like when I see someone who taught someone that it's okay to make mistakes, and it's not about the mistake itself, rather than when what was learning aspect of it. Um, because I don't think there's enough of that. I feel like a lot of executives, a lot of management, they have that older mentalities. Like, I got you here. You supposedly have the experience. You should make these rookie mistakes, right? And um, I wanna ask you a little bit. Well, the culture environment that you have been in that company or in that moment of your life, because it clearly shows or promotes that mentality of making mistake. It's okay. Uh, which is something that not everybody promotes, or it's very rare to find, especially nowadays, because apparently people don't want to train people and they expect people to know everything, and they're like, that's not the case. So I would like you to just kind of talk a little bit about that uh, culture mentality that is fomented or what comes with it.
That's a great question there, Martha, because I didn't appreciate how good that culture was until I left it.
Mm.
I was in the hotel industry for 23 years. It was a culture I grew up in. What I learned there, I thought everyone did. When I left there, I went into banking. I was there for 2.5 years at this first bank. And I learned very quickly what I experienced in culture was not the case. To the point where I started doubting myself and thinking, oh my God, was I in a small bubble? Is this the real world where people are lying? They're backstabbing. They're being unethical. They're forging documents. I'm like, I don't want to live in this world. I don't feel comfortable living in this world. But for whatever reason, I felt like maybe I'm meant to be here for a reason. Maybe I can help. So I spent 2.5 years trying to do my best to improve things. I got told, stop being so happy. Stop trying to make things better. Just do what we need you to do. Why are you caring so much about this? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm a human being, okay? And these are human beings that work for us. So I care about the business and making sure that's done right, and I'm doing that part. But I'm also going to care about the human beings. And that was just so foreign because their senior leadership had been there for 20 years. And it was always mind games, to the point where the CEO, this is not a lie, if you and I were his execs and our offices were on either side of his office, and say he brought us in and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And we both said, you know what? That's a good idea, but we think it'd be better if we did it this way. He said, you don't like my idea? Fine. He'd move our offices to the other ends of the hall, bring those people closer to him. That day, he'd make IT, engineering, everyone stop what they're doing, move these offices because we didn't agree with him. That taught me in those 2.5 years. When I left there, I was very confused. I got an opportunity to be a VP at another bank. I took it. I was very cautious, but then I realized, okay, this place is not like the other place. It's open. It wants a better culture. It wants to make things better for the employees and for their clients. And my CEO at the time told me something that no one's ever told me. He said, go do what you do best, keep me in the loop, and just make this place better. All you've learned, and just do what you do best. And he gave me, he gave me the reins, he let go, and he didn't look back. And I kept him in the loop throughout the whole thing. Those 8 years, we made such an impact. We improved things, our culture improved, our retention improved, the the involvement of the employees and engagement. They were so excited. And it just proved that culture of trust to the point where we shared during the right before the pandemic, we shared, a few leaders got together, and I said, I'm going to share that I have anxiety and I've dealt with it. And I want people to realize that there's no shame in it. If they have a mental health issue, that they should get some help and address it, because you can still succeed and become a leader even though you may have it. So we shared our stories. Some people resonated, others kept quiet until a pandemic. Pandemic hit, all those people started reaching out to us saying, I think I have anxiety. I don't know what's going on. How'd you get over it? I'm like, you don't get over it. You learn how to manage it, and you're going to be okay. But it takes some time and effort, and you'll start noticing the warning signs. These are the conversations we had. That's what I think maybe doubled down on the people culture, is experiencing that 2.5 years of hell and seeing people being backstabbed, treated horribly, lied to, thinking, I don't ever want to let that happen. If I ever let that happen, I failed. And so that's where I think I've realized our customers, clients are important. Our service is important. 23 years in the service industry, I get service. But the people part, that's what the hotel industry taught me, was value the people, value the differences that they bring, value the different perspectives that they offer, and respect.
Yeah. You know what? Your story kind of like it's a vivid example of how CEOs or the people, the leaders of the organization, the top leaders of the organization, play a huge factor on how people do work. But you, who are a great example, I'm going to use you, who are next to them and can sense the change, the pressure, the expectations, the behavior. People with innocent or naiveness, and how they manage that realm, because it's super stressful. It's not only talking about your workload, but just managing that environment where you have someone who does very questionable actions plays a huge factor, because now you're feeding from that negativity, that bad behavior. And then if you've been there for so long, slowly it starts creeping in, and you start behaving a certain way. Oh, let me cut this corner very quickly. Is compared to those guys over there, I'm still an angel because I'm just cutting this much of the corner. It doesn't matter how much you're cutting the corner, you still do it. And that's how people transform to become that executive, or who become eventually that CEO who does exactly the same thing that the other CEO did to him, right? And I want to mention this because I was thinking about this yesterday, about how much work traumas, um, baggage you bring to the next role. And I want to talk about this because you just mentioned it. You saw in three different scenarios how you were dealt with the culture and the work environment, but also how you felt your traumas um, hold you back, or make you start making assumptions of like, is it is it that guy trying to stab me, or is it that person trying to be deceiving or manipulating. I want to add this to this story because I want to ask you, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with your past bad experiences? You don't let them limit you to see the opportunity in a new job role, because you come with this idea, it's like, well, I come from a terrible place, everybody must be the same, or I don't know, just wondering.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound very corny. I've learned in my later years in life, I want to be the person that I thought I was going to be, if that makes sense. And what that means is that not letting things taint me. I have, it's very easy to let things taint you. You get burned and you're like, that's it. I'm never going to trust another male or female ever again. Or I'm never going to trust dogs because one bit me. That one experience isn't necessarily the answer to every situation. Um, just because I got in a car accident the first time doesn't mean I'm going to get in a car accident again. I shouldn't ever not drive again. So when people have that fear, I think it's, what I always say is, it's kind of like forgiveness. Forgive more for yourself so you can move on, but don't forget and remember the lesson so that your eyes are wide open and you don't fall in that trap again. That's where I think if you start seeing the warning signs of like, oh, I've seen that behavior before, let me keep an eye on that, and then keep on continuing, then you can be proactive and maybe leave or try to prevent it from happening because you see the signs and can tell, hey, I've seen this happen before. We're going down a bad road, and the result could be what happened to this company. Um, Personally, I've caught myself get jaded, and I didn't like that version of myself. That's not who I wanted to be, and it's so easy to get jaded. One of the recent things I'm actually jaded about is job loyalty. I used to think I work hard, I'm dedicated, I'm going to give you 125%. You know, I'm loyal. I expect some loyalty back, hopefully. It's a business. You're not dealing with a human being. A business, it's hard to have the emotion of loyalty. When there's cuts to be made, it's a business decision. I get that better than most when it's happened to me or when I've had to do it. Um, but a CEO who cares enough, in your example, will understand what the receptionist is doing, what the janitor is doing, what the VP is doing, because they care enough to learn and ask. One of the things that I did, and my current CEO, she appreciates this more than any other CEO I've ever done with. I meet with every employee at least twice a year. If I can do it more, I do more, but at least twice a year. And I put a 15-minute invite on their calendar to meet for 15 minutes. I say, we can meet for a full hour if you want, but I'm not going to make you feel like you have to. I know I'm HR. But those 15 minutes are just no agenda. I'm just checking in. How are you? How are things? Do you need anything? What's going on? And let them talk. You learn more about them that way. People have said that those conversations, those 15-minute conversations, they've had closer conversations with me than they've had with their colleagues that they've worked with for 5 years. That's what I'm trying to make people realize. Leaders, it doesn't take a whole lot to show that you care. And if you do it, the value of what you learn is so worth it because it will stay with you. You'll get to build relationships. You'll get to build some loyalty and trust, and you'll get to know what your team is actually doing.
And I feel like the same sentiment of reaching out to people and getting to know them. And for me, like in my work, that helps me a lot on how to navigate certain things, especially if you want to be introducing changes to the work environment. That idea of change can be very haunting for some, especially when they have been there for X amount of years. And I feel like that just one little thing showing your human self, not your title, not your superiorness, rather than humbly coming in. I'm like, hey, Felipe, how's your work, how's everything? Um that I feel like we we've put this pressure on how we perceive leadership, and even when you go to that big top layer, uh at that moment when you are that executive talking to the CEO, some executives feel like a little kid, frightened. Executives have so much that we don't see. But it's not about workload. It's about emotional and manipulation, tactics, politics, and I feel like they're so vulnerable. When we talk about leadership, we need to start also looking at it from the bottom. We have great leaders in the bottom. In any company, you have unhidden gems, leaders. And one way to bring empathy to our leaders, because I feel as though employees lack empathy to our leaders. And so why the person who is picking up the phone should have some sort of empathy to that leader who is trying so hard, like you. Like, why would I have empathy to you, Felipe, like as a leader?
Well, I think that's a great question you asked there, because one of the things that leaders are humans. Leaders are people. They have insecurities. They have fears, and a lot of them got in the roles without any training. So in some cases, they're winging it. I think the benefit to your question of how can employees be more empathetic and understand is, one, be open with them, but be transparent. Be honest with them. Let them know, hey, this is a bad month, you all. We're gonna get through it together. If you see us cutting back on expenses, don't freak out. Because one of the things I've learned in my careers of doing this for 30 years is the leaders that go to cut staff as soon as we have expense issues, that's a red flag. Leaders that are, how can we increase revenue? How can we save expenses? What can we put off until next month? Before they even think about cutting staff. Those are the leaders that are realizing we have valuable assets in our team and our people. We can't afford to lose them. Let's do everything else before we lose them. Those are the ones that I think understand and get it. It's that emotional intelligence to realize that if I'm honest and transparent with my team, they're more likely to have my back and fight harder for me to help the business succeed. If they know that I'm trying to cut expenses, they might be willing to hold off on buying something that they needed until the summer. Whatever that, there's little things that add up, but it builds trust. And that's when the receptionist or the janitor or that assistant manager is saying, well, we can't do that. We got to look out for the company. And remember what so and so said. You have those entry level leaders that will lead others for you. And, and those are the ones you want to identify, and you want to really just help them develop and grow, because they are our future. And when they see it done right, they'll repeat it. Like to your point, because when they see it done wrong, they'll repeat that too.
Yeah, and to my point, because I was gonna get that too. When you train your entry leaders, like those, like younger management roles, into leadership early, because I feel as though we focus so much on the bigger leaders that we forget about our younger leaders. And one way that
The
I
success,
sorry.
the
Yeah.
successors, the successors,
Yeah.
yeah.
So one way I feel as though, like, if we start teaching this younger leaders about leadership, technicalities, like competencies, uh things that we wait so long until they get to that point where, like, okay, we need to start giving leadership training to these people because they are in a leadership role that it really matters. The reality is, like, if we start giving them trainings about leadership, just how we give training to our leaders, and executive leaders or VPs, they will get the gist. They will understand, or they will have some sort of like, oh, I know this competencies. I know what their mindset is because, I'm taking leadership trainings. There will be a common ground where they might not necessarily get the full picture of what it means to be a CEO or an executive, but they have an empathetic point of view because they're taking the same course or similar courses and understand that it's more complex than what meets the eye. When we talk about leadership, there's two real aspects that we can, the VP and all this stuff, but these people here um, bring so much value in how to move the needle. And actually, these are the weapons to reduce any harmful situations that comes with this from these people, right? Even if this people is doing something wrong, if this person is well taught and trained, or well developed, this person might be the one who stops that situation that is happening.
But the biggest barrier to that happening, and it's funny, the biggest barrier is also the biggest solution. Succession planning. I've done it for companies, and I've done it very well for some, and I've done it for others. They rejected it. And here's the thing: succession planning is the business solution to training these people. Because you said it earlier, As soon as we said, oh, we need you to train some people so that they can get some training, I don't have time to train. But once you make it a business goal of we need a succession plan and a critical roles analysis to make sure that our company can be sustainable if anything happens to anybody or anybody leaves. Oh, that makes perfect business sense. We should have that plan. When people do that, they identify successors, they do training, they have them as that backup. So when they go on vacation, they can practice, can do the job. And that really builds their skills up and helps them to be that successor. The reason why it's also the biggest barrier is that people are afraid to have successors. Oh, they're going to replace me. Does that mean they're going to get rid of me? And get off your ego, man. Let the ego, check the ego at the door. You're passing on your knowledge to someone. They're going to value you. Your brand and your reputation is going to live on because of how well you taught them. So, and also realize you get to have a life. You can go on vacation now and do things because you have someone that you trust, that you trained to do the work while you're gone. And if they do it better, good. You trained them well. But that is the biggest fear. People are afraid to train a successor because they might train themselves out of a job. And that can't be, that's where this quote of Richard Branson that has always resonated with me was train people so well that they can leave you, but treat them so well that they don't.
And do you know what? I love that about that you mentioned succession. And actually, I think there's comes with the power trip and micromanagement. And you could see it, and you see it a lot actually in entrepreneurials. I'm gonna go in that direction now, but because entrepreneurials at some point in time where their business grow, they hold so tight, they think that they can't let go because nobody will be able to do the job better than them. They cannot be like, this is my baby. I know how it runs. You don't know. And you see that in especially in in that stages of a family business potentially becoming an actual formal business. And I speak this with experience because I have seen it in my family that comes with an entrepreneurial family where my dad took a bit longer to let go and that comes with everybody. And succession planning, it's so important. um and my dad understood this because for my family, our business family, I had a succession planning program. My dad decided to get us in a succession planning for first generation to second generation. So we went to like a 6 month course. That was maybe what, like 21, 22, where they train us on how, talk, make big decisions. What happens if your parents die? What, are we going to put it like in the market? What are the shares? Who's making the executive decisions? And then they ask you, in particular for my brothers and I, in terms of succession planning, how you just said, okay, guys, like, would you be interested? Da, 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 da. And I have this insight about that, and I really don't talk about it. But I now I understood that that's such a gem. It's such a knowledge because it's very rare that people experience that process. And so when I look into this, holding, hovering the job role, it becomes such an issue. And you're damaging not only the company's future, but you're also damaging your kids' future. And we are seeing it now with my generation, millennials, where we're not able to move. Baby boomers are not moving. Older generations are coming back because they, for financial reasons, which it's understandable. Um, and millennials are just stuck. And I'm like, where's you said it, where's the succession plan? That one solution is the one thing that people are not willing to accept, the reality. And when we transform this in entrepreneurship, in this case for your books and what is becoming of you, maybe not necessarily you become an author, but you start seeing like, this is my precious, this is my books, and how you even let go from that chapter of your life, or start beginning to that chapter of your life. I think there's a lot of fears and of seeing your baby fail.
No, absolutely. I mean, I started my so about 7 years ago now. I started Cofino Consulting. I said all this training that I offer for free and all this coaching I offer for free. One day, I want to retire and I want to keep on doing it, but I want to charge for it and be able to make some money as I retire doing something I love. So, what I've been doing over these past 10 plus years is building credibility. And so that when I do say, hey, here are my prices, people will say, is he worth it? Hopefully, they always say, yeah, he's worth it. Can we afford it? Is the question. And that's something I think that when you have an entrepreneurial vision, that might change. The plan of, oh, I'm going to go all in at retirement might move up. But your example of a baby is the literally best analogy. Think about, I know you don't have children, but anyone out there that's listening that has children, your brand new baby boy or girl, the first time you leave that baby with a babysitter, oh no, oh, they cannot take care of my baby the way I do. No one's going to take care of it better than me. I mean, it's your business is your baby. You've worked hard, you sweat, blood, tears into it. Handing it to someone and trusting them not to mess it up is a scary thing. But that's where you have to have trust. You have to have trust in yourself to explain the expectations and trust in that person. If you don't trust that person, then they're not the right person for you, obviously. But I think that entrepreneurship right now, especially for millennials and Gen Zers, I wish I had that mindset when I was younger so that I could have started doing this not in my 40s, but in my 20s. I've learned skills for being an HR person for 30 years. I've learned how to market. I've learned how to brand. I've learned how to do mergers, acquisitions. I've learned how to start a business, how to set up accounts. I learned how to build visibility, get clients. These are not skills that an HR person typically would have under the belt. I now have, I'm now more marketable because of these skills. So entrepreneurs, by giving a successor a chance to help you as you grow your business, it gives you more time to think bigger about your business. You're always in the weeds, your business is going to grow very slowly. But if you start having successors that you can train to help you take over smaller roles, you can start thinking bigger and growing. And that's what a true entrepreneur does, is that they evolve and grow and they teach the people the right way so that they can have trust. And it's hard. I say it like it's an easy thing to do. It is not easy, you all. Finding those people to trust is not easy. Letting go is not easy. And of all things, when you have so much work that you put into something, to know that all it takes is one person to do something really horrible to ruin all that work, I get it. But you got to take calculated risks in life. In life, in love, and in work, calculated risks are how you get those amazing experiences.
Yeah, I wanna. I'm gonna say this, but this is completely out of our of our topics.
Bring it on.
But you said, I wished that I knew or have this mindset or acquire this mind of entrepreneurship, like younger yourself. Um, because now we see my generation and Gen Z's becoming more entrepreneur. But I'm gonna put this here. Isn't it because of how things have become that now it required like you were so I feel like there's always blessings in disguise. I see your journey not only inspiring because it made me believe that no matter what type of corporate you have worked, there are things that could go right and you could see things go right. Um and we still need corporate world. People don't want to hear that, but we still need the people who sit down and do 9 to 5 jobs. We still need people. uh, the economy is not only go flow by gigs. You still need the blue collars. You still like, there's so it's become more complex. But i i i i, I feel as though people take lightly this or be underestimate or overestimate. I think overestimate would be the word. What means entrepreneurship? Because
Yeah.
entrepreneurship doesn't necessarily mean I have an idea, let me go put a, like, I right now, I don't know if you, I would love your opinion on this, because right now for us HRs who are gone, there's a massive layoff in HR. We're probably the first ones to go. People don't think so, but we're service, we're support, and so company be like, well, can two people manage instead of 10 people? And so I see a lot of HR professionals venturing into consulting, and you just said it. You've been working in your consulting brand and company for plus 10 years. And so um, I'm like, venturing into entrepreneurship is not always the answer. And now I'm like, uh, y- y- I look at your experience. I'm like, you said you were so open and curious to learn other skill sets during your 10 years of HR and your experiences in HR that led you to be the person that you are. You were not a normal HR because you was like, you were willing to absorb as much knowledge.
Don't give me too much
No?
credit. Um, no, 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 because because your point earlier about Gen Z millennials, you're kind of being forced to look into entrepreneurship. It's not something that you're choosing to look into. It's kind of, if you want to make some money, you might need to learn about entrepreneurship to be sustainable. But I was in corporate for 30 years, and I said I don't ever want to be an entrepreneur.
No.
I am staying until I retire. I was happy as I don't know what a corporate. Um, it was because I went to that bad
Oh,
place banking, and then when I went from that bad place of banking to the other banking place, I was forced to get creative. I was forced to think of different things, and those skills I learned, because I was also a two-person office, going from a 10-person office to a two-person office. I had less people doing stuff, so I had to do more myself. I was forced to learn these skills in order to survive. And then I started realizing, well, maybe I can do some other things with these skills. And that's where the thought says, hey, you know what? Maybe when I retire, I'll do this on the side.
I see.
And then I grew to, well, maybe I'll start doing it now for free. Well, maybe I'll start doing it on LinkedIn. And so it just
Oh,
grew. But wasn't, I mean, I've always been curious. I wish I could take credit of saying, oh, I've always had an open mind since I was a teenager. No, I didn't. I wish I could take the credit. But it was on a very small scale. I was kind of forced to learn skills that I didn't know I needed.
mm,
And by learning those skills, because of the situation I was in, it opened my mind to think, well, maybe I should try this. So I think it's just about keep your mind open to opportunities. I don't want to bring too much faith into this conversation, but there's one story that I always keep bringing up about this man who is drowning in the ocean. His boat comes by. He's praying to God, saying, "God, please save me, please save me." This boat comes by. He says, "Hey, let's help you." He says, "No, no, no. God's going to save me." So the boat leaves. Another boat comes by. He says, "Hey, let's save you." Like, "No, no, no. I pray to God. God's going to save me." And so he's on praying to God. God, please save me. A third boat comes by. He's like, "Nope. I'm praying to God. He's going to save me." The man drowns, goes to heaven. It says, "God, I prayed to you over and over again to save me. Why did you save me?" He's like, "I sent you three boats. What else did you want?" So sometimes the opportunities are right in front of us. We just get open enough to get on the boat and take the
this
ride.
is funny because the way I perceive you, or the when I met you in your chapter of your life, because I'm meeting you in a specific chapter of your life, you come across so curious, so open, so inviting to. Well, I don't know how to do that, but let's go for it. Like the fact that you just went and ventured to write a book, and it's maybe.
That's me
Yeah.
today. That's me
Yeah,
today.
exactly. So I'm meeting
A while to get.
yeah, I'm meeting you in your best version. And I guess when retrospectively, you say to me, no, no, no. Like the person that you're saying to me, like Marta, like the person that you are meeting right now is someone that, did not have this mindset. And I want to take this moment to just say how important it is to see how your mindset can change through time, and yes, you're forced, I'll put quotation mark on that, to make decisions along the way, but you how you said, there's always opportunities, and the opportunities that are presented to you might not necessarily what you think is not what you wish or want it, but is what is best for you. And with entrepreneurship, I want to wrap this idea is that with entrepreneurship nowadays, it's I know that the answer says, "Hey, become an entrepreneur, put a business. You just need a camera and a and a I don't know, a microphone, and that's it. And you could become an influencer." I want to say, I am very passionate about this because maybe I'm biased because my family's an entrepreneur, but I feel like before you step into this shoes, look to the other opportunities, because when we talk about careers, for example, I could be in HR right now, but maybe in 10 years I might not necessarily any longer be associated with HR. Maybe I will be just a guest speaker, or a keynote, or a writer. I am inviting my millennials to don't make the decision that you are entrepreneurial because the world right now is blasting you become the entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship, it's a lifestyle, and I guess I respect it so much and I value it so much that I feel like don't put yourself in a pickle, mentally, emotionally, and financially distressed just because society right now is telling you that that's the best course of action. And a great example is younger generations, like Gen Alpha, I think, or Gen Zs, are the ones that are going back to trades. Trades is booming. Trades is the place to go, not only because we have shortage in supplies and in people doing our work, but also because they see it like, well, these people are so focused on white collar jobs when this type of job give us certain freedom, right? Or some sort of financial distress. And so I want to close that mindset, because I do want to say that brings to the idea earlier, or ties to the idea earlier, of failing and failing and failing, and being open to your story, the opportunities, and sometimes the opportunities don't come or show up as what we wished or what we ask, but rather what we need to grow as a person.
And sometimes be curious and try it. Just try it and see. I don't know if I'm going to like it. Let me try it. And one thing that you mentioned, Mark, that I think with the entrepreneurship journey is people shouldn't feel bullied to become an entrepreneur. Do it because it's something that you want to do. I said I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. The idea of being an entrepreneur when I retired is how this started. Like, oh, maybe I'll do it on the side. So I think for all those millennials that are stressing about being an entrepreneur, you know what? Start doing something on the side. Think about when you were younger. Did you have did you cut lawns? Did you babysit? That was a little side gig that you did on the side. If you find something on the side that you enjoy doing, that brings you passion. If you like photography and videos and you are taking pictures, find a way to pull that into a side thing if you want. If you love sewing and knitting and all that, and you want to get into fashion, just see if people sell things on Etsy all the time. If you want to do small things, just don't go all in right at first, because that, I think, is the pressure that people are being bullied into. Is that, no, you have to go all in? No, you don't. I mean, sometimes you do. If you are saying, I'm making a decision to open up a business and quit my full-time job, yeah, you got to go all in. But when you're trying things out and you're not sure, test. A/B testing and marketing is a very good thing. Try it in two different ways. See which one works better. Play with it before you jump in, because the entrepreneurship thing is a lot of work. And guess what? Entrepreneurs don't get benefits. That costs more money too. So you have to go out and get your own benefits, not through an employer. And so there are pros and cons to both. You just got to figure out what's right for
Yeah.
you.
And I think that comes also with the idea of leadership, right? Because oddly enough, when you become an entrepreneur, you become a leader. Eventually, at some point in time, you're going to be asking, people will be looking at you. So let's wrap this video up. I do want to just ask you a quick question about loyalty with companies. And I was waiting for it, but it never came up. Um, how do you, or what is how do you think loyalty with companies nowadays has changed? So the thing is, you said earlier today in the conversation that you felt as though you provided so much loyalty to this company that they owed you loyalty, right? Like it was reciprocal. And so with this current stages of life and how the market is and everything is going, I want you just to quick give me your idea of how loyalty looks now for companies and for employees.
I'll be very straightforward and honest and short. No one's job is guaranteed. Plain and simple. I don't care if you're a CEO or the newest employee, no one's job is guaranteed. What leaders can do though, and that's where and I go back, and that's why loyalty is not something that we can expect, because loyalty and business don't necessarily mix. Loyalty and relationships with people do. So that's why loyalty with the people you manage by building trust and transparency is the only loyalty that you can expect. Loyalty of honest feedback, honest communication, real honest concerns. If you tell me, I don't know if we're going to be able to keep you on payroll past September this year, I consider that loyalty. You're giving me a heads up. You're telling me and you're being transparent about it. People think you betrayed me. I can't believe you're doing this to me. No, that's them keeping you in the loop and giving you a heads up. If things don't get better, this might happen. Let's see what we can do about it. That's the kind of loyalty I would expect today.
Okay.
The loyalty of, oh, I'm never get fired. Yeah, get over yourself, because everyone is fireable or eliminatable or layoffable, if that's a word.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think I want to get this. I'll get this out as a clip because I feel as though loyalty has become such a big word and people are frustrated with companies, but I guess you describe it pretty simple and direct. There's loyalty is no longer associated or aligned with job security. Loyalty is now associated with behavior and treatment. At least that's what I understood.
Honesty and transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's wrap this up. Give me your key takeaways of this conversation or a message that you want to say to people.
I think that the key takeaway is that take calculated risk and try things, just even if it's an experiment, because there's opportunities that are being proposed to you. If you don't try them, you might miss out. And so look at every opportunity, evaluate it. Doesn't mean you have to take every opportunity, but make sure your eyes are wide open. And I'll end with this. This is something that I say to myself and I share with others. Things to remember. And it's 5 things. I always do. Part of my brand is Felipe's 5. I've been doing this since I did college recruiting back when I was 20. But I say these 5 things to myself to remind myself, whenever things get tough or challenging, these are the 5 things. Be confident in what you know because you have experience. Be curious about what you don't know and learn about it. We got a lot of resources that we didn't have in the past. Be grateful for what you have because you have more than others. Be compassionate to yourself because you're going through a lot probably. And be tenacious as hell because you've got this. That's my message.
Wow. That is so powerful. I mean, that's funny. I was when you said like we didn't have the same resources. My brain went to a flashback when you had to go to like the library and they were like, hey, you know, you needed a big book or a dictionary, and I hated it with all passion, trying to find the right dictionary and then trying to find the word that I was trying to look. And I would cheat. I'll cut corners, people, and I will be like, I'll wait for the persons who were with me to find the word that we would need it to or to do the homework. So I would be like, well, why we all have to be looking for it? Just one person can find it and we all copy. Um, I mean, I must.
Well, I'm going back to look at the Encyclopedia Britannicas. I'm showing my age that we had in our house. That if we had to do a paper for school, we couldn't look it up on the computer. We had to go through the books and A, B, C, D. Okay, I'm researching cars. Do I look under C for cars or A for automobiles? You didn't know. You had to check both. Yeah. We have a lot more resources and ChatGPT, Google, the internet to help us learn. We don't have an excuse to not to be
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, in my end, I think one of the important takeaways for this, guys, for me was that Felipe reminded me low key how we have to be empathetic and understanding that the person that we have in front, in this case, at the moment I'm meeting Felipe, is a man who has making a lot of mistakes, have fallen down, has picked up, has made, have gotten new lessons in life. And he also is the person or the leader that he is now because of his past mistakes and terrible journeys or bad experiences at work. And I should give grace because I guess my thought process sometimes I forget is like, this is the person that is showing up, but the amount of work that he has put into himself today, it's something that I would not even imagine. So I only see how the iceberg that we see. I'm only seeing his peak moments of the best version he's showing up. I'm not saying that he's not.
No, that's really sweet of you to say. I appreciate you saying that. It's just, I didn't realize I masked some of that so much sometimes.
Yeah,
Maybe I need to share more of that because I don't. This was not a perfect journey for me. It's the trials and tribulations are what really I learned the most from.
yeah, and I think that's my biggest lesson. Is like I assume immediately, well, this is who he is, and the reality, I need to be more graceful and just acknowledge that that's yeah. You're telling me a story about how you struggle, but I'm seeing you like you're showing up your best version, right? And um, it's kind of a let's remind us guys that when we meet people in their career journeys, and if they're showing up their best version, it must be because they have gone through hardships. And we need to be reminded that it's we're not seeing the full picture or we're not understanding what he really went through. And especially nowadays that we just see everybody just wants to portray their best versions and forget that everybody wants through hardships. And I think that for everything that we talked about, that's the one thing um, it highlighted me, the reminder of you're not understanding how much hardships you went through. I mean, you mentioned them, you told me the stories, and but it doesn't associate. I was like, well, how this could be, especially when you say, "Hey, I sometimes struggled at work, right? Sometimes it was hard." So yeah, well, guys, thank you so much for this episode. If you stayed here with us and this ramble of chit chat, jumping around with random conversations, I hope you enjoyed something, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, guys.
Yes.